Okay, so let's start. So welcome and thank you for attending this session. So I'm Raphaël Faudou from Papyrus Engineering, and here's Guillaume Nadalin from Ethos. We're going to show you how we can combine different Eclipse and Polarsys tools, ReqCycle for requirement management traceability, a Papyrus tool for the design, and GenDoc for the documentation generation. So there will be 6 demos. It will be a little bit fast, but the idea is that it is practical, so you can see how the tool can be used and combined. Okay. So our use case is, Polarsys use case is a small tank, a rover. So we will use it along the Vee Cycle for the engineering. So the objectives, you find here a traditional Vee Cycle for the engineering with your stakeholder requirements, what the end user wants, what they expect, then the system functional requirement, detailed design at software level, and some code. And we will see for the right part of the Vee Cycle some traceability with the validation test. So as a guidelines, we will use different requirements, but we will not show all the whole traceability. So we will use one expectation from stakeholders, which is the rover shall support various payloads. Thanks to pluggable software architecture, we will use this stakeholder requirement. We will trace it to system requirement and so on down to the code. Okay, so that you can see the traceability around the Vee Cycle. So let's start with the first demo. The first thing is that we start with stakeholder requirement that can come from any source, like DOS database or Excel files or Word. In the demo, we'll take an Excel file. And we will have validation tests coming from, for instance, from documents. We will see that with the ReqCycle tool, we can import those 2 sources, and we can create some links, which will be verified link between the test case and the stakeholder requirement. It's the way we prepare the validation phase. Okay, so a few words about ReqCycle, because the first tool that we demonstrate. So ReqCycle, it's are 2 facets in ReqCycle. The first one is about requirement management. By requirement management, we say that define a data model, a custom requirement data model, so you can define your own attribute, your own requirement types and attributes. Okay, we get predicates to support filtering the way you want to see the different requirements. Advanced customization of the interface, data source that you can import and update with impact analysis. We will have a demo on that, and creation of requirement if you want. The second facet of ReqCycle is about the traceability. With the traceability, we can create the definition of the link type we want. So for instance, if I want to have different semantics for my traceability links, satisfy, refine, implement, verify, whatever, I can define those link types, okay? So then I can create links that conform to those link types, and ReqCycle allow to capture existing link type coming from different sources. For instance, in SysML, you will see that we have the satisfy or allocate or things like that. We can capture them. Then after the capture, what ReqCycle can do is to aggregate the traceability to get the extended traceability. So with ReqCycle, we get a configuration. We'll see within minutes. So you define your requirement data model, you define the traceability link type, the filter, the display style, the custom layout, the rules to map the requirement coming from external sources. And then at the usage file, what would be your method and tools, for instance, we would define the configuration, and the system designer, he will use ReqCycle to import the requirement, to import the test, to create the traceability link. Let's start the first demo. Okay. So, so we start with the ReqCycle configuration. We get a ReqCycle perspective, which is a layout of different links. I will come on each view, on different views, sorry. I will present each view as soon as on demand. So in ReqCycle, we get the ReqCycle preference in which we can see the data model. Here we get 4 data models. We could have only 1, but we get one for the stakeholder requirement, another for the requirement, another for the test. If I look at what it means for the requirement data model, I get 1 requirement type. I could have functional requirement, safety requirement, security, and so on and so on. For the demo, we only have one and different attributes with target version category, for instance. And for the test data model, we have also one requirement data type, but we have test means and target versions. And we have the notion of scope. What is the scope? The scope is a possibility to have, those the way we can have a scope for system, for software, for hardware, for subsystem A, B, and C. So it's a way we can address different teams, different levels in your engineering. Okay, and concerning traceability, what we have is traceability configuration. We get one project, and we have defined three link types. First one we'll see within a minute. We get a high-level coverage from our requirements. It tells us that we get upstream. We can link between, which is the cool thing with ReqCycle. And there are two other things concerning the verification. With it takes one Rover requirement and one Rover requirement data. So now let's see how I want to modify the data model. Okay, I start with my projects. I get different projects, and I say, okay, let's import, for instance, the stakeholder requirement. So I get a requirement source view that allow to create source of requirements, external source I can then update later. So I show you, well, for the demo we have already imported the first, but I can show how it works. You start, for instance, with document using OCL. You say, okay, these are my stakeholder requirements. Give your name, a document. You take your document, which is here, an Excel file. I take OK. Then I can, OK, I must choose, yes, it's there. I take spreadsheet. I take a data model, will be the target for my import. OK, I take the requirement data model. A scope, only one. A repository folder, it's the place where I put my requirement. Next, I need to put some OCL file here. This is the mapping between my external requirement and my custom data model. It's there. OK, I will explain later if we still have time. OK, then there are some checks on the requirement to see that there is mapping for all the attributes. Sorry for the resolution. And I say, OK, finish, and that's it. So it's going to import the requirement, not this one, but I already get some requirement here. So I open then the requirement view, and what I can see, sorry for the resolution, it's very, very limited. I get an overview, which is the requirement view that will show how the different requirements that have been imported. So if I look at my traceability, where's the specification? Yes, my Excel file, sorry. It was Excel file with the Rover requirement, and they have been imported into this requirement view. With the test data, we will use another connector, which is based on another mapping for the types. And if I open the word specification, test specification, we see some text, some tests that have been defined here. And the same thing, I can create a source, import things, and open my requirement view and see my different tests that have been defined here. So what I can do now is to create some traceability between the test and the stakeholder requirements. So for instance, I can put the requirement there. The other requirement view here. I get my test here, and I get my requirements. So I can drag and drop the first one, and then this menu, it's a dynamic menu. ReqCycle analyzes the source and target and suggests that between both, we can create this kind of link, which is a verified link. So I do that. And the requirement, the icon has changed. Why? Because we have custom layout, and if I look at the configuration can define several ones. If I edit it, you will see that you have predicates that have been defined on that. It's a little bit long because there are a lot of things on this computer. And So you can define predicates to say, okay, I want to have different layout configuration on top of my, to see the different way I want to display my requirements. It's a problem of refresh. Okay. Sorry. Here it is. Okay, so you'll see, if I look at this one, we will see that it's the way we present the requirement, ID text, and there's some icon. And if it's covered and verified, there will be other icons. So you can define whatever you want, the way you present things, and it changes with the traceability link you create and attributes. So that was the first demo. I come back there, and now we are going to see how we can trace our stakeholder requirements trace our functional requirement to the stakeholder requirements. It's still traceability, and then in this demo we want to use, for instance, SysML capabilities. SysML language has the notion of requirements in the language, so we can use it and use customization with CSS. So with Papyrus we use just the CSS style that you will see that the requirement will change the layout after it has been traced. Okay, let's see the demo with the creation. So I get here a model that contains the requirements at the system level, and I get here you remember, okay, my test, I can close it. I get my requirement, system requirement there. No, sorry, my stakeholder requirement. And so here I get my model explorer with different requirements which are displayed there. And what I can do is to now trace between both levels of requirements. So it suggests me another requirement link type, which is not the same that previously. It is now high level covered. I say OK. And now look, the requirement has just changed because now it's another predicate. This requirement is traced at the vertical level and traced at the verification level. OK? So, OK, I can do another requirement mapping, for instance. Right, OK. Let's come back to the demo and to the presentations. OK, so now we want to continue. Now we have our system requirements in the system engineering. So we want to do some design and cover the requirements, satisfy the requirements. So in this demo, where we see the usage of Papyrus quite fast with a block diagram and satisfy relationships. Okay, and the tool will be able to capture the existing traceability links. I will not create my traceability link. The tool will capture the SysML traceability link with satisfy, for instance. Let's see the demo. Sorry. Okay, so we go into another model, which is for the design. We get block diagram with different elements from the rover, the manager, the map, capture, the movement. And there are other operations on that. What I want to introduce here is we get a traceability table, okay? And which is in this traceability table, we get our two coverage links that have been captured, okay? And now I can, what I can do is I can create other links. For instance, I go in that way. I use another diagram. I say that, okay, I'm going to take, for instance, the first, I will take the movement. I will take my requirements, which are in the other model. Okay. My SysML model, for instance, there. And what I can do, yes, I get my satisfy, which are here. And so I already created a satisfy link that you can see there when I refresh all the link. And what I want to do now is to create an allocation with a new block so that you can see how it works. So for instance, I create a new block, what will be a new SysML child block, for instance, wheel. And I want to explain that my movement block will be allocated to the wheel. Where is my, yes, my new block. Okay, I change it, rename into wheel. Now, I'm going to create an allocation, new table, create new system allocation table. We don't care about the name. Okay, so I'm going to create an allocation between my client will be, I don't remember, but I think it's movement, yes, and supplier it will be the wheel. Okay, so logical to physical allocation. Okay, I save. Right. We get allocations. Now, if we look at our traceability, global traceability, which we take the requirements, I put there. We take the rover, I put it, and I look, and you see that it has been covered by 2 requirements, verified by 1 test, and my requirements, the first one is here. Where is it? Okay. For the first one, it should be satisfied. I don't see where is it. Whole link, okay. Normally, the rover front interface, I should have 1 traceability link with the satisfy between my requirement and my movement. You see it. We should see it in the global preview. Okay. Let's try again. Covered requirements. ReqCycle. We don't see the traceability satisfied. Okay. We'll create there automatically. Where is it? To test. I create traceability between my movement and my requirements. Okay. This satisfies. I look. Where is it? Non, tu peux le faire. Yes, to do that, we need both model, the requirement model and the yes, no, package from model and the other model, no, not this one. Sorry, we changed the demo. It's not a good idea. Yes, import package from user model. We take now the requirement model. Okay, so now we have the dependence. We can take, for instance, this one, interface. It's okay. Now we have the dependency, and we can use this system model, this interface, this first requirement, right, and create now with the palette satisfy between both. Yes, okay, right. And normally, and with that case, we will have the satisfaction. I must save, okay. And so if we refresh the traceability, we get the rover, which is covered, but this requirement, no, I don't want to show. Okay, so no, some issue with the configuration. So I'll let Guillaume continue the demonstration with the detailed design, or we can go from software to the code and generation of documentation.
Okay. So I will link the detailed design to the code. So here's the demo. It's the code. It's Java code. Yeah. And to link one thing with not drag and droppable to another thing, we will use the traceability view. So we take maybe one method on target and one operation of my block in sources, and we validate it. We propose the traceability, okay, and it is possible to see in the traceability view. Here we have the traceability as tree. So this is a simple part. So now what we do, it's a document generation to have a picture of our project. So we will use GenDoc. So GenDoc generate Word or OpenOffice document, compatible with Papyrus, Cyrus, IBM RSA, XMLS, and it's a template-based approach. So to do that, we made a template. The template. It's a Word document with Axilio code, and we'll take all information that you need as diagram or traceability. So to do that in Eclipse, we have the template, and we do a right click, and we do GenDoc, qui n'y est pas.
Le bon.
I don't take the right Eclipse, sorry. If you want a good demo, I can show you after. So on a right click, they generate the documentation. So sorry for this demo. And they do this document. So if I open it, they take the requirement. They can take diagrams and traceability link or whatever you want according to your Axilio code. So let's continue. Here, no, here. Demo. So now I will show you how ReqCycle can make an impact analysis and update all requirement import in the tool. So let's go to the demo. Here we have a stakeholder requirement. I will filter it with some predicate we defined on the configuration. So we will take only the requirement where the target version is 1 or 2. And for the example, here on the Excel file, I will change the document. So function. Up. We change the target version. I save. Up. I click on update requirement source. Okay. Okay. This requirement. It's impact analysis. So they show the target version has changed. Okay. There are no traceability in this view. If I click OK, it's magic. The requirements are directly moved on the V2 filter. Yeah. So this is for the demonstration. Here, this is an overview of the tool we use. So we use ReqCycle for import external document and link them, or linked external document with Papyrus diagrams, link diagrams between Papyrus. We linked diagram design diagram with code using ReqCycle, and we generate GenDoc to do an overview of the project. So here is some contacts, and if you have any question or need a better demo, we can come and we answer it. So thank you.
I have a question between the link about your detailed model on your code. You have made a link between your operations on your requirement, or it can be another element of anywhere models of specifications. If I modify my operations, for example, I delete or I change the name, I have a notifications about thanks to ReqCycle to say, oh, you have modified something about your traceability.
I think yes, we have a modification. The notification of a change.
Yes, so there is a possibility to detect the event of some affiliation, and ReqCycle can say that this link is suspicious. You can say I delete it automatically. I don't know if it's something relevant. You can say this link is suspicious. Try to check the target. Block this. If you delete a model event, or delete the alert, this kind of thing.
Thank you. Yes.
Can we run the tool with the command line?
Sorry?
Can we run the tools by command line, not by HTML? For batch,
For the documentation,
for example?
Okay.
You talked a lot about requirements, especially when it comes to the ReqCycle project. There is another project in Eclipse that is dealing with requirements, which is called RMF, which implements ReqCycle standard. Does it have some relation with this, or can you connect semantic model inside your tool?
We can import ReqCycle requirement on the tool, and we can export this requirement previously imported in Excel. We can export it in ReqCycle format.
We have contact with Michael Jastram from FormalMind to see which kind of collaboration we can do. Well, Michael did a great job about the way he presents the layout of the requirement, but it's only the ReqIF format, okay? And as you understood, ReqCycle wants to deal with all kinds of requirements, not only ReqIF. So ReqIF will be the good standard for Exchange. Probably we will use not an import of Excel file, but an import of ReqIF file coming from DOS or any other tool solution because it's a standard. But after, the other idea is to be able to use requirements either in XML or textual format. But what was not shown in this demo, so ReqCycle targets to be able to identify requirement as model elements. For instance, a transition in a state machine, it has the good form of a requirement. Okay, you are in a state under some event, which under some condition you reach to another state. This is kind of requirement. So we get connectors that we didn't show there that with OCL are able to detect what are requirements in the model and capture them as requirements. So the requirement is not necessarily textual. It's not necessarily ReqIF. It can have different layout forms. And so we want to deal with all those requirements. Do you want to see how it looks like? Yes. The requirements. Okay, so it tells the context, and there is one function which is is requirement, because we define one requirement type, which was requirement. Suppose you get in your requirement data model functional requirement, safety requirement, security requirement. We will have several functions to say how I am going to extract to identify my requirement in my model. This is why we get the is requirement, okay? It could be is functional requirement if you add functional requirement. And then we just say, okay, in my Excel sheet, I will look at the different cells, and when I find one cell that has this regular expression, this is my requirement. And then where are my different attributes? I need to have one function for the ID, for the text, for the category, and the version. So it was a simple case with the different columns, so we get just an offset, and that's it. We could do the same with Word. We could do the same with any EMF data model, for instance. If you want to define your own requirement data model with your EMF model, eCore, you will be able with OCL to identify the requirement and the different attributes to do the mapping. And the other way we can process document is with the .types file, which is the same way that is used with Rectify tool, traceability tool for those who know.
This is .types. As a OCL file, we get the requirement name, and we get after information in the attribute.
It's key value mapping, quite simple.
Any question?
Just a few words about perspective, for instance. Might be useful to say that there is another SLC connector which is in progress. Okay. And so you have a wiki where everything is explained about installation, and there is some tutorial to do different things with ReqCycle. Okay. There are tutorials for Papyrus and for GenDoc too. So. Okay. No more questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.